I don't remember the day I was born, but I remember the dust. The dust was everywhere. In the air we breathed, in the water we drank, even in the dreams we had, if we ever dared to dream. I was born in a small village in Africa, the kind that never appears on any map. Our home? A one-room hut made of mud and hope. We didn't have much, but we had my mother's hands, hard from years of work, yet somehow the softest place I ever knew. She named me Ayo. In our language, it means joy. I often wondered if she had named me after what she hoped I'd bring into her life, or what she never truly had. Every morning, the rooster didn't wake me. Hunger did. I'd wake up before the sun, my ribs pressing against my skin like they were trying to escape. My mother, Mama Kemi, would already be outside boiling water, not to cook food, but to trick our stomachs into thinking something was coming. Sometimes we had a little cassava, sometimes porridge, but most times, just water and patience. At 7, I thought school was a place where dreams began. But in my village, it was just a broken shelter with no books, no blackboard, no teacher half the time. Still, I loved that place more than anything. I'd walk 3 miles barefoot to get there, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. But I didn't have a uniform, no school fees, so they turned me away. Still, I'd stand outside peeking through the broken window. I memorized the sounds of the alphabet by ear. When the wind blew just right, I could hear the lessons clearly. I'd press my ear against the wood like it could somehow teach me if I listened hard enough. My friend Oba, he always saved a spot for me. He had an old book with half the pages missing. He'd sneak it to me after school, whispering, "Ayo, you're smarter than me. Teach me one day, all right?" I never told him, but that meant everything to me. Mama worked the fields for pennies, and sometimes when she was sick, I'd go in her place. We'd collect firewood, carry water from a river 2 miles away, and come back with sore backs and empty hands. I remember once she said to me, "Ayo, education is your escape. Don't end up like me, chasing food your whole life. But how do you escape when your feet are stuck in the mud of survival?" Then one day, everything changed. A group of tourists came to our village. Foreigners, cameras, sunscreen, big shoes. They looked like they had walked out of another world. We were told not to beg. "They don't like it," the elders said. "Just smile." I didn't beg. I just watched. That's when I saw her. Emma. She was different. Her eyes weren't just looking at us. They were looking into us. She wasn't taking photos. She was just observing. I don't know why, but she walked up to me, asked my name. "Ayo," I said, nervous. She smiled. One of those real smiles that don't just stretch lips, but soften eyes. "That's beautiful," she said. "What does it mean?" I hesitated, but answered, "Joy." She tilted her head. "And are you joyful, Ayo?" The question hit me harder than hunger ever had. How do you explain that joy isn't something you feel in a place like this? That it's something you protect, like a tiny flame in a storm? I didn't say anything, just looked down at my feet. She crouched so we were eye to eye. Her skin was pale, her hair golden, her hands clean. So different from everything I knew. "You're going to get out of here one day," she said softly. "I can feel it." Then she stood up and walked away, joining the rest of the group. She probably forgot about me by the time they reached the next village. But I didn't forget her, because no one had ever said something like that to me before. No one had ever looked at me like I was more than what I was surrounded by. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay beside Mama, staring at the ceiling where the moonlight cracked through. The air was thick, but my mind was racing. I thought about Emma's words, about getting out, about becoming someone. And then I heard the sound, that familiar roar above us, the sound of a plane crossing the night sky. I jumped out of bed, ran outside, and looked up. A silver bird with blinking lights, flying, free. I pointed at it and whispered to the stars, "One day I'll be up there." Mama stepped out, rubbing her eyes. "You're talking to planes now?" She teased, but her voice was tired. "I'll fly in one. One day," I said firmly. She stood beside me and looked up, then down at me. "Dream, my son, but also fight, because no one gives you wings. You have to grow them yourself." The next morning, everything looked the same, but I didn't feel the same. Something inside me had shifted. It was like Emma had lit a fire, and Mama had fed it with her words. That day, when I went with Mama to collect water, I noticed things I hadn't before. The cracks in her hands, the slight limp in her right leg, the way she carried the jerry can on her head with pride, even though it weighed more than she did. This woman had given everything for me, and I was still here, hungry, tired, invisible. I couldn't let that be the end of our story. Days passed, weeks. The tourists left. Emma didn't return. Life in the village went on. But I started doing something different. I studied. I took Oba's old book, missing pages and all, and read every torn sentence like it was gold. I'd sit by the river, mouth the words, sound them out. Sometimes I'd get it wrong and laugh. Sometimes I'd get it right and cry. At night, I'd scratch letters into the dirt with a stick, using the moon as my lantern. Oba helped me too. He'd quiz me with the little he remembered from school. We made a deal. I'd teach him how to read better, and he'd teach me how to count in English. It was our little underground classroom. I started writing my name over and over. Ayo, Ayo, Ayo. Like I was trying to remind the world I existed. But not everyone liked what I was doing. One day, an elder saw me writing in the dirt and said, "Why waste time with that? You think books will feed your mother?" I wanted to shout, "Yes! Maybe not today, but one day they will." But I just nodded respectfully and moved along. Because in places like this, silence often speaks louder than defiance. Mama noticed, though. She saw the difference in my eyes. The way I sat under the stars with a stick in one hand and a torn book in the other. One night she brought me a gift. It wasn't wrapped. It wasn't fancy. It was a pencil. Just a short, stubby one with bite marks, probably picked from trash left behind by tourists. But to me, it was a sword. I remember holding it like it was a treasure, and Mama said, "Write your future, Ayo. Write it before someone else does." And so I did, page by page, word by word, with no desk, no teacher, no electricity, just stubbornness and a dream that refused to die. Sometimes the pages of that book would fly away in the wind, and I'd run like mad to catch them. Other times I'd cry when the rain smudged my words. But I never stopped, because something inside me kept whispering, "You're meant for more." Then one day, something unbelievable happened. A letter came. Well, not to me, to the village chief. But he read it aloud to everyone. The tourists were returning. Emma was returning. I didn't even know if she remembered me, but my heart felt like it would jump out of my chest. I didn't sleep for 2 nights straight. When they finally came, I stood in the exact spot where I met her the first time. Same shirt, same smile, just taller now. She saw me, and her eyes lit up. "You're Ayo," she said. "You grew." I laughed, a little. She looked at me curiously. "Do you still want to fly?" I nodded. She handed me a gift bag. Inside was a notebook, new, unused, and a pen. "Write everything," she said. "Don't stop." I held that notebook like it was life itself. Because in a way, it was. It wasn't just paper. It was possibility. It was proof that someone believed in me even when the world didn't. That day, I didn't just get a notebook. I got a glimpse of what life could be. I don't remember the day I was born, but I remember the dust. And I remember the day someone looked at me and saw more than the dust. That was the day my story truly began.